This is the Economic Club of Florida, a distinguished platform for discussion of the major national issues of the day. On today's program, Angela Adams Suggs of the Florida Sports Foundation on the $70 billion economic impact that sports has on Florida's economy.
That's not just professional sports. We know about all of the big events. We know about the success of our professional teams. But also that includes our recreational, our leisure sports, our amateur sports, our collegiate landscape. And in terms of travel created through sport, while youth sports and amateur sports may not be recession-proof, it's definitely recession-resistant.
Good day and welcome to the 574th in our series of Distinguished Speaker programs. I'm Harvey Bennett for the Economic Club of Florida. As the third largest state by population in the country with 22.5 million residents, Florida certainly has its share of professional sports teams. And that's across all sports, even including 2 NHL hockey teams. Our warm weather has been a haven for Major League Baseball spring training camps for more than half a century. But as the state has grown, so too have the teams, both professional and amateur, and with a growing impact on Florida's economy. And it's about to reach a whole new level. Our featured speaker today is going to enlighten us on that front. She is Angela Adams Suggs, President and CEO of the nonprofit Florida Sports Foundation, the official sports promotion and development organization for the state of Florida. Angela, welcome.
Thank you, Harvey.
Well, tell us about Florida sports and the bigger picture here that you and your team have been working on.
Certainly. And so since 2017, I have been a part of the Florida Sports Foundation in representing the face of a $70+ billion economic impact to our state. Back in 2017, when we first came on board, the number that we touted was $57.4 billion. Since that time, the numbers have grown, and we look forward to even a more incredible growth. And as you mentioned, that's not just professional sports. We know about all of the big events. We know about the success of our professional teams. But also that includes our recreational, our leisure sports, our amateur sports, our collegiate landscape. And in terms of travel created through sport, while youth sports and amateur sports may not be recession-proof, it's definitely recession-resistant.
Well, and the role that the Florida Sports Foundation plays in all of that, tell us a little bit about that without spoiling your upcoming address.
Certainly. I'm sure that on any given Friday now, Saturday or Sunday, if you go to a local park in any of our communities or many of our communities, you'll see thousands of children and their parents and their grandparents and their neighbors, and they're coming from all over the country here to our great state. This weekend in Newberry, Florida, we will have thousands of youth athletes to come and participate in a softball tournament. During the season, you have thousands of cheer and dance participants, volleyball participants, and travel sports is just really, really grown. And where else but Florida can you do it each and every day?
And people may not realize that sports encompasses all of those things. And you mentioned the economic impact, $70 billion to the state of Florida's economy, but there's also an impact beyond economic. There's a societal benefit too with sports, isn't there?
Certainly. It crosses, it's purple, as we like to say. And you take a blend and everyone can cheer for their favorite team. Everyone can root on their favorite family member or their daughter, their granddaughter, their son, their nephew, their grandson. Everyone can come together for that amount of time and have a common goal of a common win.
And it builds good leadership skills, too, as we know.
Oh, absolutely.
Angela Adams Suggs, President and CEO of the Florida Sports Foundation, thank you. We're looking forward to hearing your upcoming presentation on driving the Florida sports economy.
Thank you so much, Harvey.
Now, here's Club Board Member Glenn Robertson, President of Glenn Robertson and Associates, with our formal introduction.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's really with great pleasure that I am introducing today's speaker, Angela Suggs, who is the chairman, the CEO, and president of the Florida Sports Foundation. The foundation, as mentioned, was created by the state of Florida to promote sports industry growth and create sporting opportunities for Florida's citizens. Over the last 6 years, the foundation has blossomed under the leadership of Angela Suggs. Recently, the state and Governor DeSantis recognized the importance of the sports economy by placing the foundation under the executive office of the governor. Angela will highlight for us how sports is such a huge generator of economic activity and how the foundation is a major player in that reality. Angela is also a passionate proponent of organizing and operating amateur sporting events, and which can be enjoyed by and be healthy for younger to older citizens of Florida. We can truly be proud that Angela is a native Tallahassean. She attended FAMU High and as well as Florida A&M University, where she earned a degree in economics and later earned a master's degree from St. Thomas University. She worked for the Marriott Corporation in sales and marketing, and later she excelled as FAMU's Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Affairs and as Senior Woman Administrator. Angela has loved actively participating in sports her whole life. She was a successful swimmer in particular, and to me, anyone who gets up at the crack of dawn every day and goes and jumps in a pool of cold water is truly a very strong person and a dedicated athlete. Congratulations, Angela. Whoa, I couldn't do that. Angela and her husband, Davin, are the proud parents of their 17-year-old daughter, Dylan, who is also a committed athlete. She's a super softball player at FAMU High. She will soon be a scholarship athlete at Campbell University in North Carolina this coming fall. Anyone who spends any time with Angela, and a number of you got that opportunity before our meeting started, quickly recognizes her passion for people and for promoting sports. She truly loves being the leader of an organization dedicated to improving the lives of Floridians through sports and providing massive stimulation to Florida's economy. And when you hear the Florida Sports Foundation story from Angela, I think you'll agree that we are truly fortunate to have her leading the way for Florida to be the sports capital of the United States. Let's give a great economic club welcome to Angela Suggs, President and CEO of the Florida Sports Foundation. Angela.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Glenn, for that introduction. Thank you, Marion, for your leadership, for your example, for just everything that you poured into our relationship while we've known each other as colleagues and as friends. Thank you, Katrina Roll, for thinking of me, along with Glenn, to speak to you all today. And as the introductions for the table, we have some guests that are with us today, and I will start with the team. If the Florida Sports Foundation team members that are here, if you will stand, please, and I will go from left all the way over to the right, Jackie, and we'll start with Joe. So Joe Piotrowski, who we'll speak about a little bit more, is our Director of Partnerships. We have Eddie Price, who serves as our VP of Finance and Administration. LaToya Smithwick keeps the trains on the tracks and keeps everything rolling, and she is everything to all of us, and certainly me. Carissa Pendleton serves as our partnerships manager, and Jackie Hightower serves as our VP of operations. And I'd just like to thank them for all that they do before you, and the many of the numbers and statistics that you will see for the past 6+ years. Many of these team members have made these numbers possible. Additionally, we have Daryl Jones with us in terms of what we do for youth sports and our connection to school boards, not only here in Leon County, but across the state. Daryl is definitely a dear friend and has been with us. Tammy Hamlet, as we look at, she's with Florida A&M University, but definitely has served this community in terms of youth impact from a philanthropic standpoint, as well as a youth development standpoint. She currently serves at Florida A&M in the Division of Research and manages several $1 million in grants for the budget that impacts what you've seen for my husband and, well, our alma mater in terms of the success that Florida A&M has had. And then, of course, Adams Suggs. And so Adams Suggs is my chief cheerleader, my chief motivator, my chief call it out if it's really not right, because we have that kind of friendship. Like, Angela, really, let's just let that go. But definitely, he serves as Deputy Executive Director of the Florida Association of Counties. And while I've been in this space for a little over 6 years, Davin kind of helped me to come into the space riding a wave that close to 20 years now. He's, kind of raised the mantle and flown the flag for home rule and what is for all of 67 counties of the state of Florida. So Davin, I thank you for the foundation that you have laid. And to the dais and to everyone that is here, Mr. Chairman, you're on record. So I'm going to hold you to these 24 fields that Leon County will see here soon, multi-purpose, diamonds, all of that. Indoor, let me just add to it, indoor facilities and everything else. I think this is being recorded, yes. And so you have time. I think you have another board meeting. Let's get that agenda item going. Next slide, please. Again, thank you to the Economic Club. I am super honored to come before you today. Much of this history has already been spoken about. But if we go back to 1989, who remembers OTED? And so we were born out of OTED. We were in office, and I say we, but Larry Pendleton was the person that represented sports and sports tourism. And as we look at 1989, and you fast forward a couple of years, and you've heard some buzz about FIFA World Cup coming to Florida here in the next few years. But in 1996, FIFA has already been here via Orlando. And as we were looking at how would that be funded, we started to just kind of say, well, everyone can't come to the legislature every year asking for every event. And so someone, Governor Childs' chief of staff, read a book on P3s. So we'll go back to the early 90s, public-private partnerships. It became a buzzword, right? A buzz thing, a buzz labeling of organizations. And so with that, upon the reading of that, they came back and said, well, let's try this P3 thing out through sport. And so Larry, guess what? We're going to give you a budget, going to fully support you, 100% the first year. Second year, 50% funding. Third year, you're on your own. And so with that, we set out to, Larry did at the time, to go out and work with, at the time, Visit Orlando and the folks there in terms of how we were going to bring this World Cup bid in for a landing and open that up. And there, the Florida Sports Foundation was born as a 501c3 organization. And as Marion mentioned, we've gone in and out, but the mission remains the same, and that's to invite the world to come play in Florida. Next slide, please. So recently, we conducted an economic impact study with tourism economics, and when I came in, and when many members of the team came in August of 17, we were touting a $57.4 billion economic impact through sport. The numbers that you see here on the screen are a culmination in terms of that $146 billion. Well, let's divide that into two. And so now, Florida's economic impact is $70+ billion annually through amateur, recreational, professional, and leisure sport. And all of that comes through, and then let's not just look at the economic impact. Let's look at the jobs associated with that. I learned at FAMU High that you round up, and 978,000, it's close to 1 million. And so close to 1 million jobs through sport, and that's across the landscape. We'll break that down a little bit as we have this conversation today, or as we present these facts and figures to you. But all of these, some of this information is found in the booklet that hopefully many of you received when you first came in. But again, it's through the efforts, and for things that you may not think about, everyone knows about Super Bowls and All-Star games and FIFA World Cup, but the majority of these numbers come from international jump rope competitions. They come from local recreation, so parks and recreation, and what happens almost every day on a field or a track or a diamond near many of our homes. Next slide, please. And again, we know about the professional sports organizations that have come, and they have grown over the years. And so while, of course, we know Florida is a big deal, as was mentioned, we're the third largest state here in the country, and over 22 million people that call Florida home, but we're a big deal in sports as well. On the professional landscape, not many states can say that they cover the depth and breadth of professional sports. We have two. Because none of these say one, right? No, none of them say two. So we're not just going to do it one time, but we're going to spread across all of our entire state. So 2 Major League Baseball teams, 2 NHL teams, 2 NBA teams, 3 NFL teams, and we were talking about this past weekend as it relates to that, and then 2 MLS teams that create great energy here in our state. Not just our professional sports. We spoke about recreational and leisure sports as well. And we can go to the next slide. More than 16 million people come to Florida for our golf courses. There are golf courses everywhere. More than 16 million visitors. So that doesn't include those of us that go out there, and on some days, it's a good day, and on some days, we're chasing that last great shot, right? But with that, in addition to what we do, more than 16 million people come. 1,100 golf courses. 12% of the United States golf economy is right here in the state of Florida. So we don't just have South Beach, right? We've got 1,000 miles of coastline, 12,000 miles of fishable rivers and streams. And again, we don't just have Fort Lauderdale Beach. We don't just have Jacksonville Beach, Panama City Beach, Destin. But we also have 8,000 natural lakes. That's a lot of fishing. It's a whole lot of fishing and boating. You can go to the next. And so we spoke about our specialty plates. And again, back when that conversation was had, so Glenn was there, year 2. 3 years seems like a long time on the first day of the first year, right? But when you get into year 2, you're like, oh, that 50% is feeling kind of different than that 100%. And so what are we going to do? So they went to see a man in Miami by the name of Wayne Huizenga, who at the time owned a couple of businesses. You may have heard of them. Miami Dolphins. It was a great idea to bring baseball to South Florida, so why not? Who cares about the Yankees fans, the Mets fans, the Blue Jays fans, and the Orioles fans? We're going to bring baseball to Florida, and we're going to land it in South Florida. And so, of course, you brought the, at the time, Florida Marlins, now known as the Miami Marlins. And you then said, well, we already have the Olympic plate, which you see we inherited in 1992 when we were incorporated. But there are all of these other teams that are in Florida. Wouldn't it be great if we had a specialty plate for these teams? One meeting led to another. Mr. Heisinger called Ron Book and said, go to Tallahassee and make it happen. Is that how the story goes? Yes, that's how the story goes. And so we're here. And add on the Tampa Bay Rays in 1996, the NASCAR plate in 2007, the Play Tennis plate, and the 2020 plate. You might say, well, what happened to the golf plate? And so we did have the golf plate, but now there's a nonprofit in Miami that manages the funds that go into youth golf programs and growing youth golf. And so back to that now. Through the sales of these plates, if you go to the next slide, we have generated over $5.6 million just last year alone. Let's look at this plate slide, and you see that says August 31st, 2023. And so what started, Glenn, as let's figure out how we're going to build a budget. And surely back in that year, we were not this. When we got here in 2017, we were coming in right under $3 million. And last year, we closed with the support of the Floridians that choose our plates, these plates, from over 120 plus plates that they can choose from, $25 at a time, to the tune of $5.6 million. And what do we do with that? And again, we're trending, still trending. As of August, sold this many plates. And what do we do with that? It goes back into our communities, and we'll speak a little bit more about that. We can go to the next slide. Let's talk about amateur athletics, professional, recreational, leisure, amateur athletics. In this impact study, over $113 billion in economic impact, 716,000 jobs. Again, what is that? There are tournaments that have over 500 teams. Well, guess what? We need traffic control. We need for people to come out and keep these parks clean. We need ticket takers. We need folk that are going to come in and print up all of the great signage that you see for many of these amateur events, for our road races. You need people that are going to put barricades out. You need people on our softball diamonds that are going to drag the fields. We need all of these efforts that are going to come together via the economic impact of sport. And while nothing is really recession-proof, as we've seen over the past decades, but I will tell you that youth sports is definitely recession-resistant. You heard, we know it firsthand in terms of traveling the globe. And as we were able to invite other organizations to come into our state over the last 4 years, and so go with me there. We had AAU Junior Olympics that came to Florida when they couldn't go anywhere else. We had several organizations to choose Florida to bring their events. International Jump Rope came to Pasco County. So the world is coming to Florida, not just to Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. And while we definitely welcome them there, and we have many, many opportunities, they're also coming to Tallahassee, Florida. They're also coming to Lake City, Florida. They're also coming to Newberry, Florida. Over 500 softball teams travel to Newberry, Florida. They're going to fly into Gainesville. They're not, and some will have to fly into Jacksonville because Gainesville is sold out. Some of them will have to get cars from Ocala because all of the rental cars in Gainesville are sold out. And so it is the entire state of Florida, from Escambia on up to Fernandina Beach, all the way down to Monroe County and everything in between. We are excited to tell the world about what Florida has to offer. The next slide, please. We have year-round opportunities, and we'll speak a little bit about our Sunshine State Games, our Grapefruit League, and our Florida Senior Games. If you'll go to the next slide. And so with these numbers, our oldest state games That means in the country. Annually, we'll have over 7,500 participants throughout 21 communities and an economic impact that exceeds $4.6 million. And so who are these people? These are people that are amateur athletes that are winning gold, silver, and bronze medals through the Sunshine State Games. And so that is something that we all want to create opportunities for. And again, our mission is to create opportunities for our residents and visitors to play in Florida. Next slide, please. And so again, there is a state out west. They have 15 teams. But here in the great state of Florida, we also have 15 teams that for many of them over 100 years have called Florida home. Last year, the spring training season saw 1.4 million fans at an average of over 6,000 fans to come to 237 games over 33 days in 13 communities. That's just through our spring training season. And we kicked that off with our Governor's Baseball Dinner, which has been around since the 1930s. And we were excited to bring that back in 2017 and have kept it running. Of course, we had to take a pause, but our next installation of kicking off spring training here in the state of Florida, and while this year, we'll just say most years, if you want to win that trophy, you've got to come through Florida. The trophy comes through here more often than not. And so we will celebrate the start of spring training February 15, 2024, where it all started, in Tampa with the Yankees organization being our host. And Commissioner Manfred, and we believe him, he says each year that this is his favorite baseball dinner. Arizona has a luncheon, so we will take him for his word at that. And but we know that, again, the commitment from these teams exceeds, many of them, over 100 years, and there is a commitment moving out into the future. Next slide, please. And so our senior games. This past summer, we had over 700 athletes to qualify during our state games and go to the national senior games in Pittsburgh. And from that, we had 576 medals won, 244 of them gold medals, which guess who had the most medals of any state? Why, of course, it was Florida. And so as we look at that, let's go to, well, we can stay here for a second. I want to highlight, as we speak, what does this have to do with economic impact, right? Well, there's that pillar that speaks to quality of life. And so one of our responsibilities is, again, to show that impact. And I just want to highlight a Florida resident, Shirley Chase. Shirley Chase from St. Augustine, Florida, was the first person to participate in the 95 to 99 age group for swimming. She swam the 50, the 100, the 200, and the 500 freestyle in 2021. For those of you that don't know, the 500 is 20 laps. In 2022, she came back and participated in over 4 events, and she won a gold medal and a silver medal in 2022. And then this year, Shirley Chase did pass away at the age of 97 years old. But where I back into that is in 2022, that means she was 96. And so for us to create these opportunities for all residents, young, seasoned, we can then show that how that shows a vibrant sport economy, and that if we are producing opportunities for our residents and visitors, we can go to the next slide, to participate. You saw that registration is open. Those of us 50 and over starts locally, and we have some open events. But as we look at that, we want to keep that going. So if you're active, those of us that aren't so active, but when there's an active community, there's an active participation in growing the economy of the industry. It's football season. It's basketball season. Basketball season just started last week. But Both of the Tallahassee teams, and Tallahassee has two Division I programs here, one FCS, one FBS. We have a very vibrant, Mr. President, I saw him, community college championship. Community college athletic program there at TCC. And so Florida, while also being the spotlight of government, it is also a sports town. And so we're super excited about the success of the teams that are here. But let's look at it from a statewide perspective, more than $5 billion in economic impact. And so, of course, that includes the 41,000 jobs, plus jobs that come through college athletics. Again, that's not just the AD. But that is your official, that is your concession company, that is the parking lot attendants. Those are the people that are going to come in and do each and everything that is not just for football, but for every sport, and not just for every sport, but for the youth sports that are coming. Florida A&M, Bragg Stadium will be the host this year to all 9 classes of football for the state of Florida. All 9 classes. And so that means every championship for the Florida High School Athletic Association football will come to Tallahassee and go to a college campus, and then they'll go back to Miami, they'll go back to the Keys, Orlando, Jacksonville, or wherever they're going, but they will pick up their trophy here in Tallahassee. And so if you go to the next slide. We spoke about, again, the specialty plates and the grant program that we have, and we're nearing the end. We'll close out with some about more closely to what we do as the Florida Sports Foundation. So in addition to producing opportunities for people to play in Florida, promoting opportunities for people to play in Florida, our biggest role with our partners, and again, Joe Piotrowski is our Director of Partnerships, we have sports commissions throughout our entire state that they are the face and the experts of what their communities can host. And again, yes, we can host Super Bowls. We've hosted more than any other state. Miami has hosted more with 11, and we're hoping for another one to come on board pretty soon as an announcement. But we've hosted more than any other state. Yes, Texas. Yes, California. Because, again, we are the first state with this idea to have an organization like the Florida Sports Foundation. 35 years later, no other state has a nonprofit that is assigned to represent to the world the opportunities that exist here. And so, again, in addition to international jump rope and pickleball tournaments and volleyball, softball, and shuffleboard and horseshoe tournaments and all of that are being hosted, Orlando in July invites 21,000 volleyball teams to come to Florida. And so that's the teams and their families. And the Orlando Convention Center, if you've been there, is now transformed into an entire volleyball coliseum, if you will, of sorts. And we can do that here in Florida, Orlando in July. And so with that, here are the numbers in terms of where that shows itself. Just through our partner program and the ability for us through the sales of these specialty plates, we pour that back into the communities. We give a percentage to the charities of each of the teams that give us the use of their image and likeness without charge. And so through that, we'll give a percentage back to each of the team charities, but the majority of those funds go to a $24 billion economic impact as it relates to supporting these communities with additional funds to keep, recruit, retain these amazing events that come to our state. And of course, we have to look at, again, what that means for job opportunities. And that's over 140,000 jobs that go there. We can go to the next slide, please. Again, our 35 industry partners, these are some of the bullet points that we look with them: access to the grant program, leadership education, expanding awareness of what opportunities lie within these communities. And we'll go to the next slide and we can talk about our Florida Sports Summit. And so it says 2022. We have hurricane season. It's Florida. That's what we do. So we moved it to May of 23, and we were in West Palm Beach. But what this event does is it invites rights holders, people that own these events, to come and have an exclusive opportunity with our communities. And so in that partnership, next year we will be in Panama City, but we invite again, global rights holders to come in and see what it is that Florida has to offer. And so we'll go to the next slide. In 2019, our board chairman, Jesse Biter, saw an opportunity because every community, every budget cannot support going to the international trade shows. And so what the Florida Sports Foundation does is we will, actually in one of these trips, I believe the Scotland trip, Host City Conference, I was able to meet Chris Campbell, who's here with us, and I met him there. He goes, "Oh, you're from Tallahassee?" And then we talked about how instrumental he was in bringing the British team to Tallahassee for training, and how they then went on to great success. And there's even an article that speaks to how the reason that they were so successful in London, the reason they were so successful in future games is because they trained in Florida. They trained in Tallahassee. And so we're having this conversation not on Monroe Street or Adams Street. We're having this conversation. We ran into each other there at the Host City Conference. And so what does that mean? Well, LA 28 is upon us. And so how many communities can we have that can be base camps? We already have a proven story. We already can show our proven success and how that shows itself. And so these are some of the places that we've gone, and we've taken all of Florida, all 67 counties with us everywhere that we go. And we can go to the next slide. We have a few of our events that are coming up, and we've spoken about many of them. We can go to the next slide. In December, Tampa will host the Division I Women's Volleyball Championship. Just last month, the SEC selected Pensacola, Florida to host the Women's SEC Soccer Championships, and they will be there for several years. So again, I want you to hear me mentioning the multiplicity of opportunities that we have in all of the communities that we have here in our great state. And if we'll go, I believe that this is the last slide. And so our results from last year, from the specialty plate program. So you've seen it on a whole. You've seen it as we look forward. And so as we've just ended the first quarter, you saw where our specialty plate sales are trending. Through that program, last year we supported 179 events, over 10,000 jobs. We awarded $5.3 million in grants. And so that 53,000 that you heard, I think that's just this year. And so, we for what we've done here in Leon County. And so as we continue to support, and again, close to a $775 million economic impact, and we've brought in over 900,000 visitors here to our state. I am truly honored to work with this amazing team that we have, to stand on the shoulders of giants, to move forward the vision of many of you all in this room, to give you something to brag about in terms of making sports purple. Red and blue makes purple. Making sports purple here in our great state, where everyone can cheer for their favorite team. They can cheer for their favorite youth and senior athlete, and we can continue together to show everyone why Florida is where the world comes to play. Thank you.
Can you take some questions?
I will.
Okay. Would you say something real quick? She's going to take just a few questions, brief questions if you would, so that we stay on time.
Yes, thank you for that very informative presentation. So I have two questions. Number one, in baseball, are we losing teams to the Grapefruit League, or whatever the Cactus League is called out in Arizona? We're holding our own. Second question is, I know that there have been various cities in Florida that through fits and starts have tried to host a future Olympics. Is that a reality, and when do you think that might come?
Certainly. And so with the first question, there are always talks, right? And again, with the ownership and the organization, we've been fortunate that there has been no action on any rumors or whispers that have taken place. Many of our spring training venues have received recent makeovers. Many of the teams have renewed their contracts here in the state of Florida. And while there have been conversations, what I can say is the news that we're seeing recently is definitely very positive. Again, all 15 teams are participants in our Governor's Baseball Dinner. It actually is where MLB hosts their media day for the Grapefruit League teams, and we have active participation from all of our teams each year that we do that. For the second question, as it relates to the Olympics, we wouldn't be necessarily the top choice for the Winter Olympics. And the Summer Olympics, there's this thing that we have, this little season, not winter, spring, summer, or fall. But from June to about November-ish, it's called hurricane season. So it would be difficult for us to evacuate the world on a moment's notice, but that doesn't rule us out. As we mentioned, in terms of base camp training, again, LA 28 is definitely on our radar. We just had team members to come back from Colorado Springs, speaking with the national governing bodies, as well as some of the USOPC organizations. Some of them call Florida home. But how is it that between now and 2028, and we even have Orlando is hosting Olympic trials for Paris. And so how is it that while we may not host the games in Florida, we definitely are primed and ready to create opportunities for preparation to have a huge impact through the games?
Thank you. Just a great presentation. And for the great service. My one voice was supporting a lot of people in Jacksonville and St. Pete. What's for the foundation view or your view of the ROI with the city paid so much money, maybe $1.5 billion to keep the stadiums for 20, 30 years or renovating them? Do you have a kind of ROI? Do you help communities make that decision, or what do you do in that regard?
So we do not. That is a piece that I'll put it to you this way. I came in this morning on a flight. My husband picked me up at about 12. You all know that American flight that gets in. It leaves sometime on time, maybe sometimes it doesn't. So we came in around 12:05 this morning. But last night, I was on a stage in Miami at the World Economic Summit that FIU presents. And I was there with Miles Pistorius, who is general counsel for the Dolphins, Formula One, Miami Open, a couple of other events, Homestead Track, and others. And we were speaking about particularly what Stephen Ross has done in the Miami Gardens community and for Miami-Dade County. But if we just look at that, and while we do not, the Florida Sports Foundation does not, we're not at that table. What we do is we then take all of the resources that are available in Florida, and we then help to program success via whatever those resources are, via something that's shiny and new, or via something that is a hidden gem or jewel in terms of being able to create creative programming there. We were just in Orlando. If you've not been to the Ocala, my apologies, at the World Equestrian Center, the WEC, as they call it there in Ocala, well, it's an equestrian facility. But we're looking to do 7-on-7 football tournaments there. We're looking to do perhaps some lacrosse tournaments there. And again, yes, while we are not at that table and we do not make that decision, we are definitely here to showcase the decisions that are made and then what comes out of those decisions as the multiple opportunities that show itself.
Okay. Wasn't she great? So proud of you.
Thank you, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
There you go.
You've been listening to Florida Sports Foundation President and CEO Angela Adams Suggs, speaking before the Economic Club of Florida on November 7th, 2023 in Tallahassee, Florida. For more information on the Florida Sports Foundation, visit playinflorida.com. The Economic Club of Florida promotes interest and enlightenment on important economic, political, and social issues of the day. To learn more, including how to become a member, visit our website at economic-club.com. This program was recorded at the AC Hotel in Tallahassee, Florida.